Hi, I'm Greg with Grebic Knives. Today we're going to be covering the different finishes I put on custom-made knives. We've got 3 knives of similar design, and we're going to be putting an acidized finish on one, we're going to be putting a Stonewash finish on another, and the last one will be a brushed finish. If you enjoy the videos, please subscribe to our channel and give us a thumbs up. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I'll get back to you either in the comment sections or I'll make another video. These knives have all been heat treated, tempered, initial bevels have been put on them, and they are ready to be surfaced and having the bevels and stuff finished up and the final finish. We're going to start out, we're going to surface all 3 of them together. We're going to get the bevels all put on to them together, and we're going to see what they look like when we get that process done. Here we have the knives all set up, ready for the next step. We have the blades are all surfaced, the bevels are all put in, and we are set up for the next step in the process of putting a finish on the knife. The next step in the process of putting a finish on the knife is to build the scales. I chose red cedar for the scales on all 3 knives to give us a really good indication of what the knives look like and the contrast between the different types of finish. Now, the finish on the knives is going to be brushed, acidized, and stonewashed. When I get the scales all sized, split, everything's ready to go on the scales, we'll come back and we'll go ahead and start putting the finishes on the knives. The knives will all be logoed and ready to go, and at that point, we'll actually do the finishes on the blade. The acidized, 2 of them, and 1 of them will be brushed. The one of the 2 that's acidized will get the stonewash treatment, so you can actually see the different levels of progress between putting a finish on a blade. Here we are ready to start the acidizing process. That's the process by which we're going to make the blades dark. First thing you do is clean them up. I use denatured alcohol because it doesn't leave streaks on the finished blade. Notice I'm wearing some rubber gloves. That helps me to avoid putting finger acid on the blade. And that will cause a discoloration that we don't want. Now dry it all off, and while that's being dried off, we'll leave it wrapped up. We'll open up the acid tank. Now, nice little high-dollar hook. It's a chunk of wire straightened out. Hooked up knife handle on it, and you dip it down into the acid. The acid that I'm using is ferric chloride. It's a combination of muriatic acid, and then it has hydrogen peroxide, and then it has 4 little bales of 4/0 steel wool dissolved in it, and it creates ferric chloride. So now that sits for about 10 to 20 minutes, and we'll be able to see what it comes out like. Okay, the acidizing process is kicking in, but we've got some spots on the blade that have a little bit of decarb. We're going to go ahead and resand it, resurface it, try and go down through that, so it gets to be all looking like this. Okay, and off to neutralize. And while we get that one taken care of and resurfaced, we're going to go ahead and start the next one acidizing. First thing you do is clean it up. Try not to drip alcohol on the doggy's head. I'm pretty sure he wouldn't appreciate that. And we hook it into that one. And down in the acid it goes. Okay, now on to this one. We're going to go ahead and resurface it. Try and get that all cleaned up and still leave the logos in place. Here we have the last one. This one gets brushed. That way we've got 3 different finishes. Okay, we're going to brush it with basically a Scotch-Brite belt on my old shop box grinder. Brush finish is much easier. Well, blade number 2 should be pretty much acidized. Pull it up out of the acid. Oh, look at that. The difference between blade number 1 that didn't work, that we're going to put back in the acid, and blade number 2. Let's set this down in there for a second. This is going to go in and get the second step of the process done to it. But this one is going back in the acid now. This one will be able to sit in the acid for the right amount of time while I'm taking care of this one. Okay, let's go ahead and get it neutralized and in the coffee etch. Just running some water on it for right now. And sprinkle a little baking soda on it. Neutralizing the acid. Because if you leave that acid on it and active, it turns to brown rust. The acid will evaporate and just all that nice black finish turns brown. So you got to neutralize it. Now that's actually eaten down into the steel and put a pretty decent finish on it. And now we'll go into the coffee to make it darker. Ready for coffee. We'll go get the coffee set up. Here we are ready to do the coffee etch. The coffee coffee is made with not quite 30 ounces of water and about a cup of instant coffee. Wicked bad strong. Okay, then you lay your blade in your little coffee etching tank. It's a little tinfoil tub. And you pour this in on top of it. Now I have a little block of wood sitting there that'll suspend the back half of the blade on the tang. That way it gets coffee all the way around it. Now it sits there and waits until it's good and ready. It could be anything from 4 hours up to 16 hours. I've never left it in more than 24 hours. So we'll come back and check it in a little bit. Now I go out and check the other blade. Here we are. After acidization, it has some decarbonized steel still on the surface. A few little spots right in here, up in here. I used to hand sand these until all that went away. But now I have this handy dandy little surfacing attachment that's going to help me take care of this real quick. Just place it on there. We'll do the easy side first. And now we'll turn it in until it makes contact. All nice and shiny clean again. Hopefully we've gotten down through the decarb. Now we'll do this side. This side will take a little bit more because there's larger areas and we need to get it down far enough where that's high carbon steel metal instead of kind of carbon steel metal. Okay, got it all ground down, nice and shiny. Third time around, into the acid. With any luck, it'll come out nice and pretty and black. Here we have the final finish that we put on blades. And it's the acidized and coffee etched. This one came out just beautiful after the second or third try. I take the knife and I put it in a ferric chloride solution. I acidize it, and then I come in and put it in a really strong instant coffee solution. Now, when I first did it in the coffee, it came out very splotchy. I had to throw that batch of coffee out because it was quite old. I use it as often as I can, and I used the inexpensive coffee from Dollar General. But that's not why it came out splotchy. I reused my coffee. Once it's done, I put it back in the jar and I put it in the refrigerator and store it in the refrigerator. If you do that for a little while, eventually it ends up coming out splotchy on your blade. Now, this one still has a little light spot, if you can see it, but that gets sanded off and covered up with the handle, so we don't worry about that. We're concerned mainly with the finish on the blade from the ricasso area up, and it looks pretty good. So the next step for this one is to go ahead and get it set up to put the handle on the blade and turn it into a real knife. We'll be able to finish this one up tomorrow. But we're going to work on the others and get them done up so that I'll have all three blades sitting out in a row so you can see the difference in the finishes. Here we have a blackened blade that's been acidized and coffee etched. This one's going to be stonewashed. I keep my stonewashed ceramic pieces in a bucket to store them. They have moisture in them. I use Windex for the liquid because they have to have a little lubrication on them. And you just hold the blade in there. And put it on about 3/4 full. When it's about 3/4 full, with the knife sticking in it, you put the top on it. Grab some masking tape to tape the lid on it. This is a really high-tech stone washing system. Fold it across. And then one more wrap around. Now I go tumble it, and if you want to see the full action, we've got a video that we produced earlier that'll probably be in the description. This is what it looks like when it comes out of the system. My high-dollar tumbling system has been drained and the stone's taken out, and we've got it all done. Now I could go out and buy one of these really high-dollar, high-tech tumbling systems that you got the tumbler and the chamber and all that stuff, and you plug it into an outlet, but they're awful expensive. So I choose to do it with a coffee can and the stones. Does the same job, everything comes out great. And let me know what you think. How great is it? Here we finally have all three of the knives finished. We've got the brush finish. We've got the acidized and coffee etched finish. And we have the stonewashed finish. The easiest one of the group is the brush finish, because in order to do brush finish, You surface the blade. You then cut in your bevels, make sure there's no more scratches on it, get it all sanded smooth, and then you brush it. The brush process is started with basically a Scotch-Brite belt. So you just run it across the Scotch-Brite belt and your finish is done. And then the next level of difficulty is the acidized and coffee etched blade. You start the same process. You surface it, you cut your bevels, you get your logos put in it, you remove any scratches with the surfacing attachment, and then you brush it, and then you put it in the acid. From the acid, it goes into the coffee. Once the coffee is done, this finish is done. The highest level of difficulty, most amount of work, is the Stonewash. You start out with the same process as you do in the first two. You surface it, you bevel it, you put your logos on it, you remove any scratches with the surfacing attachment, you then acidize it, put it in the coffee. When it comes out of the coffee, you then stonewash it. The stonewashing is accomplished with my little bucket and going up and down the road. So this is the highest level of difficulty. Whichever finish you prefer, that's entirely up to you. Please leave me a comment in the comment section to determine which one is your favorite. I'm going to keep score. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see others, please subscribe to our channel, give us a thumbs up, and leave us a comment in the comment section. That helps us to grow. Have a nice day, guys and gals. Bye-bye.